Okay, good morning. It is July the 15th. It's approximately 9:05 a.m. We're in room K at the Tennessee Tower, Nashville, Tennessee, for our monthly inmate disciplinary oversight board meeting. Present today is Mr. Mike Sharon, Mr. Dale Carr, Mr. Mike Dunn, myself, Jerry Bassfinder, Mr. Lee Frank. Mr. Quantel Lindsay is supposed to be coming, and we have Miss Betsy Wiseman virtual. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum, and I'd like to ask Brother Mike Dunn if he would open with a prayer.
I'll be honored. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the blessings of life. We thank you for the blessings of family and friends, and we thank you for the blessings of this job. Oh, we pray your will be done today. Please guide us and direct us to do your will. We ask your blessings on every prison, every employee, every inmate, every visitor, all the staff, and may you protect everyone in those facilities, and may they see your will as the perfect Department of Correction. May you bless our government leaders. Would you please bless our governor, bless our lieutenant governor, and bless our Speaker of the House. Would you have your way with us today? Bless this meeting. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, that was beautiful, Mike. Thank you, as always. Okay, we'll get right into the meeting. The first order of business is the review and approval of minutes from our June meeting. The video is on the website. The minutes have been previously distributed. If there are no questions, we can do a vote to approve those and have them entered into the record.
Motion to approve.
Motion made, seconded. Any discussion on those minutes? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to a voice vote. All in favor of approving the minutes from June as recorded into the record, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you, everyone. All right, let's move on to our next order of business, which is an overview of the last 30 days. We distributed 1,393 cases in June for initial review and consideration. That number is significantly lower than in May, so we continue to see those numbers drop, especially year over year. Appreciate everybody's work on all those things. The big order of business was the conference that occurred between several county jails and in conjunction with TCI a few weeks ago. I'd like to have some of the board members who were able to be a part of that discussion just talk us through a little bit about how that went and what they thought about that initiative. It's kind of our signature summer initiative to try to get all 95 counties, 100 jails more consistent and in line with state disciplinary procedures. So that was our kickoff conference. I know that there was a podcast that was done talking through some of those efforts. Was anyone who was there want to talk a little bit about how they thought that went and what they took away from that?
Well,
Anyone at all?
It's a very good meeting, which Director Wall of TCI, had approached us back in the fall when we attended the TCI conference in Pigeon Forge about that he would like to get the county jails that hold TDOC prisoners on a uniform disciplinary program across the state. And we met there at TCI's office in Jackson, Tennessee, and had a real good discussion. Anderson County sent 2 people that were their disciplinary hearing officers and went over what policies they were using. And actually, we found out that most of the county jails are still using the old matrix from years ago, from the zeros to 9, 0 to 12, 0 to 15. And I think we're heading at a good point, which we'll meet tomorrow in Anderson County with TCI again. And they're wanting to get all of the disciplinaries that are A's up to being in the A classification and get a uniform length and start out with what they're anticipating is to do a pilot program, have 3 jails from each grant division, so 9 jails total. That would be the pilot program. We'll have a small, medium, and large from all grand divisions and get that started. And I know TCI is already working on a program that will let the county jails submit it to them, and then it was submitted directly to us. And which Director Stahl and I met with TDOC last week. Last week. And the commissioner said that when the TONUS 2.0 is released first of the year, that he had no problem with letting the county jails start putting disciplinaries into it. So the A's will go in there, which is not being done now.
Which is a big deal because, you know, from what we learned from the great folks at TCIs, a lot of the sheriffs were fearful that they wouldn't give them access. So that's something that you kind of led the charge on.
Yeah.
We can't thank you enough for that. No, that's a big deal.
It is a good meeting. Good.
I was gonna say that I'll have to thank our chairman. The first day was just kind of a roundabout. And, you know, sometimes when you're first starting something, you don't know how it's gonna, you're like, is this gonna work? Dale was there. It's kind of like, are we gonna get on the same page? And Jerry worked that whole evening on his own and came up with a plan and got with Wall. And the second day, it just came together in Anderson County, which is where I'm from. I was agreeable to it. And so I'd like to thank our chairman. I've done this before, and I'm not sucking up, Chairman, I promise you.
Well, actually, it was Director Stahl gave me orders not to
Okay.
leave the conference unless we have.
Thank you, Executive Director Stahl. But anyway, it came together. It's one of those things where you go, is this ever gonna work? And then it just, in a couple hours, the second day, it came together very nicely. So anyway, I'd like to thank Chairman there.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, I mean.
It was a hodgepodge first day.
Yeah, it was.
Spinning on wheels, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, good group, good discussion, but like, we weren't getting anything from it.
But sometimes that's what it takes. I mean,
It does.
that initial,
To get to know
feeling
each
out
other.
period, sure, but that's where leadership comes in, and that's why it's critical. So, you know, great job from everybody who could be there, especially the chairman who has spearheaded a lot of this since
You
the
have
beginning.
recognized all the jails in each grand division yet? Hey,
He hasn't. I know that Anderson County is gonna be the medium size for East Tennessee. They told me that Shelby County Corrections had agreed to be the large size
West
for West, and Obion County has agreed to be one of the West, and they were talking with Sumner County, which would be Gallatin, Hendersonville. They would be one of the medium size, but I don't know if they've got them all together yet.
Let me ask you this on that note, because Sumner's a big county, it's grown a lot, Rutherford's a big county. If they, it sounds like we're trying to get Memphis, Nashville, and Knoxville, or Chattanooga in the east. If they don't agree, I mean, I could almost see Sumner as a large. I mean,
Yeah.
aren't they almost 200,000? I mean, they're a good sized county. I mean, they've really
Yeah.
just a thought. I don't know if Nashville's like, we're not interested in this at all.
They're talking with Davidson County,
Okay.
but I don't know if the Sheriff Hall has agreed on it yet.
Okay.
Well, I think the approach is to prove the concept across the most willing participants. And then you have that momentum that shows the other places that it's already in effect and it works well and it makes their lives easier and better and more consistent. And so even if you do have some initial hesitation from places like perhaps Davidson or some of the larger entities, I think the idea is that once that ball gets rolling, you won't be able to stop it and won't want to stop it. And so that's where TCI comes in to act as that overseer. So I think you're exactly right. We'll start with some of the more motivated and interested places. But once we show how effective and important it could be, I really do think that everyone will get on board. I think it'll be a much quicker fall in line sort of process. So hopefully we see that. I think we've got a great opportunity tomorrow out in Anderson County to finalize some of this stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody who was able to be there. Thank you to TCI. Thank you to the counties who have shown a willingness to work on this. And it was mentioned by TDOC leadership that it shouldn't be an issue to get the counties access to the disciplinary pages that they need inside of TOMAS. But until then, I think one of the things that got discussed was they would utilize our board to make sure that those disciplinaries get inputted correctly for the time being. So, that's something that we've accepted, and I think it's a great thing from the board and its members to be willing to take on that work and that challenge. I think it creates safer environments and communities all across the state, which is our guiding principle. So a little more work, but I'm excited about it.
I think we learned too that I think they said like 5,000, right? TDOC inmates are in county jail, so it's not insignificant number that we talked about.
No, it's a big deal. It's a very big
Good
deal.
start.
Yeah.
County had quite a few.
We did,
Yeah, it's a great thing. So thank you to all those who were able to participate and handle that. Thank you to those who continue to work on that this week out in Anderson County. Looking forward to some more updates as we progress on that initiative. So, okay, any questions about that from anyone? Okay, good deal. A couple of things is I know the appeals subcommittee continues to meet. Thank you for your hard work. I think they actually granted an appeal recently. So I know that they're taking a very close look at all that paperwork that comes through and continue to do good things there. Thank you to those who continue to send in the prolific offenders. I know the board of parole appreciates our involvement in that. It flags and highlights some of the inmates that are coming up for those parole hearings and allows them to separate out those who might not quite be ready for reintegration. So thank you for that. Any questions on the last 30 days? Okay, outstanding matters. We continue to engage with TDOC on a memorandum of understanding. As everybody knows, there's a transition period going on currently inside of the legislature, including the governor's office. We really want to get in place some of the things that we've been able to get to in terms of our work with TDOC. We want to memorialize that. We want to codify some of those things. We think it's important as the new leadership comes in over in the legislature. Perhaps there'll be some leadership changes over at the department. And so we want to make sure we've got a smooth transition if and when that occurs. So we continue to engage with them on that. I think every day we get a little bit closer to a final agreement that makes a lot of sense for our board. So still working on that. Still continuing to work with sentence management on getting those receipts for changes that get made from the things we submit. We do see those changes being made for those inmates that are closer to release than those that are not. It continues to be a struggle to make sure that that information is contemporaneous, updated, which I think is where we're trying to get to. So I do think, and from what I've heard, the upgraded TOMAS system is going to assist a lot in that regard. But for the time being, that probably won't be active until later this year. So until then, we continue to let them know that it's necessary for them to demonstrate a commitment to making sure that the information that can be found in TOMAS is updated, regardless of release status, as quickly as possible. So continue to engage on that, but don't have a final answer yet.
Michael, I'd like to point out to folks that might be watching or watch this later that what we're doing, I was thinking about and I think Jerry can give me the numbers, that 5 or 6 they've had to hire to do it at TLC.
We've got 6.
That they've had to bring, that shows you what we're doing here, because disciplinary is being taken much more seriously than it ever has been. I mean, when you have to hire that kind of people to keep up with the volume, that tells you something. So, I mean, that needs to be pointed out. I think it does.
does. No, it's significant, and it's a good segue into our next discussion point, which is a submission into the record of our reviewed incidents, which kind of shows exactly what you were alluding to, Mr. Frank, the work that's being done by the board. So we can move into that as long as, are we done with updates on outstanding matters? Any questions on those? Okay, well, let's get into that quickly, Mr. Frank, because you gave us a really good segue for that. On tab 2, you can see the year-to-date numbers for some of the work that you all have been doing. As always, very, very impressive. The more recent numbers show that in April, for the April incidents, the board removed over 30,000 inmate credit days for offenders who had Class A offenses. In May, we distributed over 1,500 Class A incidents. There was a significant uptick in a few of those facilities, including Hardeman. And 562 of those have been approved initially. Obviously, we'll talk about those today for removal of credits and granting of credits. And for June, we distributed just under 1,400. So we're seeing a reduction in those numbers across the board in terms of total number of incidents. And we continue to see significant engagement from the board in terms of removal of credits and granting of credits. So thank you for your hard work, as always, on that. Any questions about that? If not, I'd be happy to entertain a motion to move that report into the record.
So moved.
Motion made, seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Okay, that completes a lot of the updates and preliminary matters for the meeting. We do have one discussion to handle before we get into the dockets for the day, and that is a discussion regarding board staffing. We have looked at and considered a new role for the board. As was alluded to by Mr. Frank, the volume continues to be significant. The work that the board does continues to be significant. And so I know that there were some board members who wanted to discuss the idea of adding staff. So I'll open it up to the floor. I do have on here the discussion being led by our chairman. You can start, Chairman, or we can open it up for discussion.
Yeah, does anybody have any to start any discussion? Any thoughts? Mr. Carr, you?
Well, I was thinking, I've talked to Director Stahl about it. If we could find somebody and hire somebody that we could probably fulfill 2 or 3 different subjects there. In other words, we hire one, it would be a executive director and a IT man all together. In other words, if we hire somebody, make them have more than one hat to make sure they can keep busy. So that's what we need to look at, I think, is to hire somebody that can do, don't hire this, hire one person that can do 2 or 3 different things and put them to work.
What would be the critical roles that you like for the new hire to concentrate on?
Well, I mean, if we could hire I don't know what we could find, but if we could hire a guy that could be an attorney and an executive director, assistant, excuse me,
That's okay. I'm just here to do what you all want to do.
I did say
That's fine.
executive.
I'll work hard until my last day.
No,
Looking up like I'm sorry.
I'd like to rephrase, Your Honor.
No need, sir, no need.
Okay, no, it's a combination of attorney, attorney staff, and maybe be the assistant to the executive director. That way they could have something to do. And also, I don't know, you might find somebody that knows some IT and all that stuff too there on that. One person does it all. And of course now, somebody may have a difference of opinion, but if we, and if you're looking for things to do and to make sure that we are keeping that person busy and he's earning his money, these 3 guys have been doing the appeals all the time. Let him look at the appeals.
Okay.
If he's an attorney, if he needs something to do, and then you can always have him something to do, as the executive assistant to the director. And then if we could hit that magic moment there and find somebody that's got an IT experience or something, could write some data or whatever like that, then man, we would really hit it hard. And that you'd have 3 hats under one person. And I think once you give that to HR, they come back with a pretty good salary, and we'd have it. Because Tammy's got what she's doing now. You've got what you're doing, but you needed somebody to fill in. So that's my opinion.
Yeah.
I'll throw it out there.
I would just add, you have 95 county jails that we're about to start working with. That could be like a liaison. I mean, we don't know how that's gonna play out. I mean, it could be like constant phone calls, but you know, you got 95, you don't have 14 prisons, you have 95 county jails and people trying
There's
to
actually
figure.
100 jails inside of the 95 counties, because some counties have
Right.
more than one jail. Yeah, 104.
So anyway, that could be another thing that,
They could do, yeah.
you know, I mean,
Okay.
we don't know how that's gonna play out. That's gonna be like an everyday, you get phone calls from 4 different.
No, that's helpful. That's
Just
what
a
we
thought.
need to know.
Earlier in the discussion of this, we were maybe hesitant because what will they do? I think now with all this coming forward, as Mr. Frank said, Lee said, there's a little bit more to do. I think that we could at least keep somebody busy, and he would be there and wouldn't just be there sitting on a position and drawing money. He would actually have something to do. He or she, whoever it is, would have something to do. I didn't mean to leave the ladies out. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I agree, with Lee and Dale both. We need someone that can multitask because we don't have enough work for a full-time attorney.
Right.
And we're losing Steve, our part-time counsel's
Yep.
taking another job. We don't have enough full-time work for an IT person.
Right.
So we need someone, you need someone if something happens and you need to be in a legislative meeting or send someone to a legislative meeting. You
Or the
need to-
hospital.
Yeah, the hospital. Yeah, where you're going.
Crazy things happen. You never know.
But, you know, if we could find that ideal person, then we could put them under one umbrella and there's enough work to keep that person busy. And we're showing that we're fiscally responsible to the taxpayers because we've got that one person filling in the multiple tasks. And I know it's gonna be a hard job to find that certain person, but I think that's what we need to look for. Plus, none of us know what almost 2.0
Well,
is
look
looking like.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think I'll just mention quickly, I think you touched on something important. I mean, we, as a board, we're very fiscally responsible. We continue to return money at the end of every fiscal year because I think, and I appreciate this from all the board members. I know a lot of you spend money out of pocket, so you don't ask for the reimbursements that you're owed as state employees. And I know you work hard to be cognizant of the budget and using taxpayer money wisely. So that's something I know you all take seriously, and I appreciate that. And that would obviously be a major consideration, as always, for any decision that we make. So just wanted to highlight that, emphasize that, because I think it's an important touchstone. I'm sorry, Mr. Lindsay.
There you go. Are we looking to find that person before or after Thomas 2.0 is launched?
Well, there isn't a hard date for the launch of Thomas 2.0. The soft date is the end of the year. So likely what that means is you would have a soft launch probably around the holidays, maybe after Thanksgiving, beginning of December, which would allow sort of an ease into the use of the new system. So you likely wouldn't get a full usage of the new Thomas until the start of the new year, probably right after the holidays, maybe early January. So if you did want to wait, that's probably the timeline you'd be looking at.
And when are we're just discussing as a board with that, when are we looking to post a job or start looking for candidates that can?
Well, that all depends. If we vote today on the process, then what would happen is I would create a job description that would then get sent to, depending on exactly what we're talking about. These are the competencies that we're looking for. These are some of the qualifications that we need. Create a job description that gets sent over to HR. Now, because we're small, we don't have our own HR department. It goes over to the Department of Human Resources, for which we have a memorandum of understanding, and they assist us with some of these needs. They take the information I give them. And then our liaisons over at DOHR, in the time that they're able, craft a posting that makes sense. Then we attach a salary to it, depending on those qualifications, those competencies. Then once everybody agrees that this is what the position requires, and this is a salary that the board accepts, or a salary range that the board accepts, then you can begin posting. Then you have a certain time period to allow for people to apply. After that initial application period, you move into the interview phase, and then after the interview phase, you move into the hiring phase. So realistically, depending on what we're looking for, because the more you're looking for, the broader range of applicant you can receive, and the longer time period it might take you to find someone who fits all those competencies. So realistically, given what we're talking about today, and that process, if we voted today to begin that process, you'd probably be looking at hiring someone hopefully somewhere in the next 3 to 4 months.
And I could see even further than
Very possible, yeah. Like I said, I would hope within 90 or so days, you could have somebody that's acceptable. But for sure, it could take months.
And by the time we get all, I mean, just to put it in simple terms, realistic terms, by the time he gets everything turned in and comes back to me from Department of Human Services over there, hey, you're looking at close to the end of the year, really.
It's very possible,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not gonna be like he's gonna turn it in tomorrow and they're gonna send back next week and say, dang, here it is.
No, it's a process,
while. It's a
especially given what we're talking about. I mean, the complexity of the position and the expectations for that position probably requires a significant umbrella to go out and make sure we find somebody who fits what we're looking for at a salary range that's acceptable for the
Right.
board. Obviously, we don't have TDOC's $1.4 billion budget. We're much more constrained than that. So, it could very well fall into that end of the year, new year timeframe.
Yeah.
But I would hope it wouldn't, but it could.
An attorney that is acceptable with taking attorneys first, right?
Well, that's for
I
everybody
mean,
to
I think
decide.
that's the one that we have to have.
We are losing our part-time attorney.
We have to have the attorney first, and then kind of a jack of all trades, kind of an
To
operator.
me, that makes a lot of sense to find someone who can fill that role, because if we don't, then we're hiring for this position and we're starting to look for another either part-time or full-time attorney, which means we're hiring
Right.
dual capacities simultaneously as opposed to attempting to wrap it into one process. Now, I will say, I mean, if we begin the process and we find that we can't find an acceptable candidate, we can always reconvene and perhaps separate out some of those duties. Again, it's a fluid process, but this helps me understand what the expectations are from you all for that position, and we can shoot for the moon and see where we land.
I like everything that's been said today, and I agree with everything everybody said. So I would entertain the motion, offer the motion to begin the hiring process of a professional individual to serve as a deputy director, attorney, and ID professional. Just see what you can find. The advertisement posting.
Seconded?
And I agree, because once we get the description from HR, which I know that we've got enough money in the budget, I'm sure, to cover that, but we're also going into a new budget year. That's something also we can discuss with F&A, that we are in search of this position, and also I think it would all work out fine, because realistically, we're looking at someone by the end of this year.
Yep.
I agree. Okay, any other discussion on the motion? Okay, we'll move to a voice vote. If it's close, we'll move to a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion passes. Okay, thank you, everybody. We'll begin that process, and obviously I'll be in communication with everybody as that process unfolds. So, thank you, everybody, for that discussion.
We want to thank Steve too for what he's done. I mean, you know.
Yeah, Steve had texted me this morning. He's working on a couple of things. I was hoping he'd be on, but he hasn't been able to make it, but surely pass that along.
How long are his services going to continue?
He said that he would be available until the end of the month, but he continues to transition into the new role. He's also having some family things that he's working through, so some of his time is being taken from that. So officially, he's available for another few weeks. But you know, depending on our needs,
Absolutely. Okay,
we'll see what we can do with him.
very good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, those are all the talking points other than the dockets. So we'll get right into those. Our first presenter is our chairman, Mr. Rathspiner.
Yes, sir. If everyone has had a chance to look through my docket, if you haven't looked through it recently, there is an additional one that's been added to it out of Morgan County. It was a March case that I found that was a pending case that actually cleared, but the disciplinary board did not take the appropriate amount of time. But in my cases, I'll be taking an additional 60 months. I'll be returning 9 months. That in the cases that were misapplied, D-Board took 72 months. I'm taking 114 months. For the month of May, in all the cases I reviewed, there were 1,789 months, and with the adjustment, it brought it up to 1,831 months for time removed. If there's any questions, be glad to answer them.
So that Morgan County case, that was one that had been pending,
Yes, sir.
and you went back and made sure that it got reviewed once it was finalized.
Right, that was a March case, and actually, I had several that were pending that came off that the disciplinary board was correct on. So when I cleared out my sheet, transmitted it to Tammy, so she updated the file pack. But this one, was adjudicated wrong, so.
Fantastic. I just want to emphasize how great that is. I think it's really important that if we do our initial reviews and our dockets, but there's matters that are still pending, going back and making sure those get completed in terms of reviews is really, really important, just to make sure that we aren't missing anybody when we're reviewing these Class A's. So thank you very much for doing it, Chairman. Okay, any other discussion?
Motion to approve.
Second. Made, seconded. Anything anyone would like to comment on? Okay, all in favor of approving Chairman Vastbinder's docket into the record, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you, sir. Any comments, issues, trends, anything you'd like to highlight that you're noticing from the past month?
Nothing that's really any different from the last few months. I find that, the upper 7 prisons starting at Bledsoe and Hardman County, they wipe their cases out in weeks. I mean, it's quick. The further you go down, once you get to Northeast, they have a few that stay kind of strangled. Northwest does. Right now, I'm seeing more from Whiteville and from West Tennessee that are just kind of in limbo. Yep. Some of the West Tennessee cases that are in limbo, though, are actually pretrial Shelby County detainees that, with, what is it, Operation Safe Streets or whatever they call it.
Memphis matter,
Yeah, they've had to move some Shelby County inmates in there because the jail can't handle the amount. So they've got pretrial detainees that are acting up. Well, they're not sentenced, so there's no way to take time from them.
So they're writing them up, but they're not.
They're writing them up, yeah.
They're not under the TDOC policy. Right. Which is interesting. So they're gonna look
Yeah.
That's what we will.
It's kind of weird.
Well, hopefully our confidant, Mr. Mike Ward, can do some good work over at West Ten and ship them into shape. So hopefully that happens. But okay, that's good to know, and we will pass those notes along to TDOC to make sure the people who are doing well get credit, and the people who are not are being highlighted. And I think last month we talked a little bit about Hardeman having a significant number of cases. Did we see a reduction this month in the number of Hardeman cases?
Yeah.
So that was a 1 month spike for them?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Whiteville's gonna be spiking again this month in July.
Why do you say that?
Because I've already gone through the first third of the month and, I'm at 360 something cases for 10 days.
For Whiteville?
No, just that's out of
all of
the
them.
bottom
Okay.
prisons, but Whiteville is doing a lot of, weapon searches and drug testing.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, I think that's a good thing. I think we all saw the article the other day about how there was some testimony from a former inmate or some victims about how cell phones are being used inside prisons to continue to traffic drugs and conduct business outside the facility. So, I applaud everybody here for, focusing on that to make sure that we do what we can to deteriorate those capabilities from those inside. So, hopefully they are doing those searches and making sure that those write-ups occur, and we're gonna make sure that those threats to the community don't get released. So we can, okay, thank you very much, sir.
Chairman?
Any other comments for Chairman before we move on? Okay, our next presenter is Mr. Frank. Mr. Frank.
Mine is very straightforward this month. It was a pretty well done month. I took a total of 35 months and restored 18 months for my docket. I mentioned, so I'd ask for approval by the board.
I'll make a motion for it.
Motion made, seconded. Any discussion, any questions for Mr. Frank and his decisions, his recommendation? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approving Mr. Frank's recommendations into the record, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you.
I was gonna mention on the Hardeman, you mentioned that. Jerry and I discussed this. I might have talked to Mike Sharon about it as well. I don't know if we can fade, everyone else saw that Hardeman had a lot of dismissed cases. Did y'all notice that in this big one? And that's an issue and Jerry and I talked about because I was not aware of it. I mean, I'd heard it, but about when they bring in a strike team that stuff is taken out, and if it's not written up correctly, then there's no chain of command, and I guess it's what would you call that? What's the right?
Chain of custody.
Due process, chain of custody, and so these cases are being dismissed. And it seems like if we're gonna go, if TDOC is gonna go through the making this huge strike, and then 70% of the cases or 60% are dismissed because I guess, I mean, I can't envision it. Is it lying in the flow? I mean, I'm trying to think about how this is not being written up correctly. Jerry, maybe you can go over that. That might be something we discuss with them about, like, we noticed this. This is,
We've talked to them before, and certainly Mr. Dunn has more insight than Oliver had, but they talked about assigning someone from that prison to the strike team to be able to document the search and seizure, whatever kind of evidence. And I think they're just, going back to their old ways of not doing that, but we certainly discussed that with them
gotcha.
at length.
Protocol in the past has always been, by default, the institutional investigator and their staff would be in charge of logging on property and seizing property, storing it properly and tagging it, cataloging it, and all that. But those searches are enormous. They're extremely time consuming. A lot of times they're having to hit multiple files at the same time.
Gotcha.
Because if you hit one ahead of time, the word gets out and the evidence is destroyed and another one, but by the time they get there, so you're talking about dozens and dozens and dozens of personnel to try to bounce at once. And then once it's done, then they have to secure all the offenders. They're all searched immediately and placed inside the middle of the pond. And it's just a long process. And there's a lot of activity going on. And the strike force members or whoever's assisting them, local corrections officers that are searching inside the cells, a lot of times they have different methods of logging what they found. So it makes it to the table where they're logging the property. And okay, who found this? Well, this is not written right. Who found it? I don't know. Who found it? I thought he found it. Well, no, he found it. And there's a lot of mistakes on the property because there's so much going on at the same time. The blessing is they're getting the things out of the cells.
Right,
They're
right.
getting the drugs. They're getting on cell phones. They're disrupting the order of
Gotcha.
corruption, the criminal activity, excuse me, that's going on inside. But
So it's always
It is.
going on like this.
it's difficult. It's extremely difficult to manage, and my heart goes out to them. So I've been there a lot.
I
to see
understand.
what they go through, and it's very hard.
I'm not denigrating them. I understand
No,
that.
not at
I just didn't know if there was I'm sure they're aware of it.
There's
But
a-
I mean, you don't ever see Hardman dropping cases like that
Yes.
as of late.
And every time the strike force goes out to a different facility, that they do better and better, but they're always getting new members. People get promoted and move away. And it's always a training in progress, and it's just really something. And inmates move around and shift around, and so do staff, and it's a different game every time they play. It really is.
Don't you think too is, and I've heard about it, is when the strike team hits, if they've got sometimes it just comes flying out. You don't know who it comes from.
That's what I was gonna.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
it.
you know,
That's it.
you know,
So
if I was
you
in
see
there,
a
I'd
lot
throw
of
mine
this
up.
stuff, cards right.
Yeah.
So once they hear and Mike, the word travels. So if you hit this pod, but Tom, when they come out there, when you see common area, common place,
Yeah.
you'll just see stuff sliding out the door. So now you don't know. They just come in. It's drugs, it's tobacco, it's knives, it's phones. Because they already hit. So you see all these like we collected this, but you probably only caught a few inmates with on their possession.
Yeah.
Because once that strike team hit, cars going, everything's going under the door. So it's not so much of them. It's kind of like you could slow it down, you could disrupt, but once word get out, everything's going outside the door. So they're finding a lot.
Word is out quick.
Words get out
Yes.
quick. And so when I see the same thing, that's why you find these knives and they say in common areas. Because one person their cell got hit and now you just see stuff sliding.
Yeah.
Would that be as high as 70% though? Did I hear you say 70%?
There's a lot of dismissed and Hardman.
Yeah.
Could be as high as that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Are there any solutions to that?
I think the body cams will help. I know they're talking about going to body cams, I think.
Well, yeah.
Trousdale is the pilot facility for that, yeah.
But I wanted to, and you were talking about the officers having to do this, and it's hectic. When we see that Hardeman has not had that kind of dismissal, so if someone sees that, this is an anomaly. This is like,
But it's good
They
to
were
keep
both
an
aware.
eye on it to make sure it's not an anomaly, or that it is an anomaly and doesn't turn into a pattern.
right, this was,
Fixed.
Yeah, yeah. But no, that's great. I mean,
because their
that's-
cases were triple what they they were 400 or 500
Sure.
for Hardeman, but they're normally 150 to.
But if they're dismissing 70% of them every
Yeah.
month, then that's problematic.
No, they're not.
But so that's good. It's that's why I think it's important to discuss what we're seeing so that we can recognize whether this was a spike or if it becomes problematic. So,
Next time you meet with TDOC folks, ask them what are they doing about that? I mean,
100%.
We can give them the stats for part of it.
we talk about that stuff all the time. I mean, that's probably the bulk of any time that we get an opportunity to sit with leadership is us telling them, these are the things we're seeing. This is what needs to be fixed. These are our ideas. This is what we'd like to see implemented. So that's why I ask you all, and that's why I take these notes, so that when we get an opportunity to talk with them, they're aware of what needs to happen. The problem is, whether they implement it or not.
Right.
That's really where
The body cams and if to stop what Carl was saying, the sliding everything on the door, and then you just got a pile of stuff. If it was they had some kind of visuals on those doors, but then they go back to manpower, then you got to investigate a whole pot of people, and then you got to say which inmate it belongs to. So what it is like it has to be fixed, but that 70% is the reason why. Okay, it slid out the cell. There's two of y'all in there. Now, which one it belongs to?
Or you vote.
Or both. So it's what it is. It's a lot of investigations, a lot of work. A lot of work.
I think Jerry had looked at his Hardeman, he's got his it's more like 40%. That's still quite a bit.
Well,
So,
we'll keep an eye on it. I
I
think
wanted
if everybody would, that would be
Correct,
helpful. Just
correct.
keep an eye on that and see, make sure that that's not, that number should be moving in the right direction. I'm sorry, Mr. Carr, did you have
No,
something?
no, we'll get to it later.
Okay. Okay, well, was that all, Mr. Frank?
yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for that. We will move on to our next presenter. And I understand that we had Ms. Wiseman on the agenda, but we're gonna hold over that docket for next month. Ms. Wiseman, is that correct? All right, well, I spoke with Ms. Wiseman. before.
Yes, yes. Sorry, I couldn't get my unmuted. Yes, please hold it over to next month. Thank you.
Not a problem, not a problem. Okay, well then we move on to our next presenter, which is Mr. Carr.
Thank you. Well, you see, I've got, I did not have any credits given back this time. I took away 61 more months from here, and then I'm not overlooking anybody that maybe been overcharged or anything. I think I've got one or two for next month I've already seen, but with taking this off, what I was going to mention a minute ago, and I'm seeing it, and it gives me a little pause, is you've got the sale, you go in, you find the phone, and you charge both people with possession, of the phone. Then you get out and you look it up, and one gets charged, and the other one is gone. Well, is it dismissed or is it pending? Sometimes you can't tell. Maybe if we had a little more explanation on that, you'll go and you'll see one that's got charged, and it has some time taken away, and you go look at the other, and he's still got the A there. Well, I say that's pending. They've not done anything with it. But then sometimes you go and they can't find any disciplinary on the second person. So has that been dismissed with a hearing or without a hearing? I don't know if we can get any more explanation on that or not, but that causes me to pause because it throws up in my mind what's going on here. But even though I think they both ought to be charged, but it looks like maybe one's taking the plead guilty and taking charge for it, but I want to make sure that I don't miss somebody on that. So if somebody give me some help on that, or if we can get a little more explanation.
That's a good point, because a lot of times they'll put on there the cellie or the cellmate
Yeah.
playing with the phone or the weapon
Yeah,
or whatever.
if they would
and
just
that's
do
why
that,
it's
yeah.
dismissed, But they are very inconsistent.
Right, on the one that was charged.
Yeah.
I think constitutionally or legally, they're supposed to, sometimes you'll catch them where you'll see it and it'll say dismissed or not guilty.
Yeah.
But what is it, 14 days, and then it has to come off their record
Yeah.
if they're not. So
Well,
I guess they say that people would use that against them if you've got these, if it's been dismissed, it's.
You're pretty sure that if you go up to that first one, and he says, guilty, and he pled guilty, well, he's going to what's taking all the charge for it. But then there you go again, he may plead guilty and the other guy's guilty too, but I don't know. But anyway, that's just my question on that. And I did have a lot of pending last time, I'll go back over them, but this is what I'm taking away right now, 61 more additional months, and I present that to the board.
Carl, when you see these cell phones and possessions and sales, and they both get charged because that's protocol, and then one person gets guilty and the other one go, it's understood. Like, if you are selling with someone before they walk in, that's your phone, correct? Police come in here, it's your phone. So they like that's just the prison politics.
Okay.
They gotta take both of us, but we understand when we go up there, that's your phone. And if he agreed to that, if he agreed to that and he doesn't own that, he can't go back to the pod. That's bad news for him. So like that's bad news. So when we see things that people sell and they're both charged and something is dropped off one, that's because there was an understanding. You want to bring it because most of these cell phones are placed in common areas.
Mhm.
And then some people want to, they want to talk to their girlfriend at night. So things are understood when they come in there. So that's why we see that. But I'm with you. It would be nice to say this person pled guilty
Mhm.
instead of just one dismissing.
Okay, is there a fix for that?
There is a fix for that. Both of y'all getting charged with it. I don't care who phone it belongs to.
And you see that sometimes, because they're gonna,
Yeah.
I'm sure they're saying, hey, look, there's no way you didn't know your
Yes,
cellmate
yes, yeah.
didn't have a phone. So
But then,
you'll see sometimes they'll charge it, they'll punish them both.
and done can lead to that, then you're gonna have a lot of violence.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
gonna have
If I get time. for
if I get time for this, you got a lot. But then too, some of these are mules. So some of these are paid to you carry your phone. See, so most of the people that get caught with phone is not theirs.
Is there any way to track that, the payment?
Yeah, because it's all digital. It's all Cash App. It's all commissary. It's all sent out, sent back in.
Okay.
So the shot callers, if you will, they're not carrying their stuff.
So that's right.
So most of the people that's getting caught with stuff, it's not even theirs.
Yeah. So the boss men.
Yeah.
They're not gonna have a phone and they go get it when they need
No,
to.
they're gonna say, go to that zone, tell Carl, bring the phone at 3 o'clock. I gotta bring it over here. He's already know he's taking a charge. So when we would see these inmates and like with 14 knives, they're the mule. He don't have 14 knives. He got to hold the knife if a war break out.
Yeah.
He's already know he's taking the time, and that it's all structured like that the shot callers don't get touched.
Given your understanding of how things work on the ground, and Mike Dunn, this is a question for you as well. What is the most common way that cell phones are getting into the prisons?
Correction officers.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Let me make a point to where we go back to the COVID era, where visitation was ceased, completely stopped at all 14 prisons in this state for up to a year, if I remember right. During that time, cell phone seizures did not decrease. Overdoses did not decrease. There were still drugs every day, and there was still violence every day. None of that slowed down. In fact, some of it increased a little bit. So it comes down to either one of the rare cases of items being thrown over a fence in a football or a baseball or a drone, or common staff, kitchen workers, educators, teachers, even chaplains, or the corrections officers themselves bringing it in.
But it's not just corrections officers, other staff.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I agree with that. Let me stand corrected. It's not just these officers, and it's not all of them. But it's these inmates don't leave.
No. And they will try everyone they can to motivate anyone they can, to trick and manipulate anyone they can to bring them anything to begin. And then once they start at the smallest thing, a cigarette, a stamp, anything, then they'll. I've got you now, and I need you to bring this.
Yeah.
But, for example, one of the inmates I investigated started with offering $500 for a cigarette to a new corrections officer. And it's just tobacco. Tobacco is not against the law for a prison. It's just against policy.
How do they
They make it
transfer the
clear.
money?
It's, like you said, digital. It's cash.
Digital.
Yeah.
But,
PayPal, cash out.
but does it go from the inmate to the staff
Usually
officer, or
it's
does it go
family
to the
member.
family member? Yeah.
It makes family member, or even someone the perpetrator is pressuring his family to pay for the product, or the perpetrator will threaten to harm this subject over here if his family doesn't pay for product. It's a pretty detailed system.
Is the most common motivating tactic money?
Money or power? Money or power.
How would power work?
It's the gang leadership, and they say what goes on inside the pod. It's their rules. They'll dictate what happens where, who gets to have this comfort, who gets to perform this role inside the pod.
How does that motivate the staff of the correction officer to assist them?
A lot of what I saw when I was investigating there is, if a corrections officer that's been triggered and hooked into bringing something in, if they don't continue to cooperate with larger items and more frequent activity, not only would they not be compensated, but they could be harmed, or their family could be threatened. And a lot of times these inmates have enormous access to personal information of the officers who are watching them,
How do they get that?
corrupt officers.
Interesting. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to spend too much time on the subject, but it's, you know, yeah, well, I mean, you know, it's tangential to what I think we're trying to
Yeah.
understand better.
That's a lot. I mean, there are assaults, but some phones and drugs and knives probably the top three
Yeah, it
things.
continues to be an issue, so.
I just wondered if, just that we're not solving this problem here.
No,
Is any state figured this out? Is this a worldwide issue? Inmates getting stuff.
Some states are more restrictive on visitation and a lot better at searching.
Seems like it's
staff
staff.
entering in the
Okay.
facility.
Gotcha.
It just varies from that. Really, wherever there's people, you're always gonna have good people or bad people.
Yeah.
No matter what the profession, no matter what location.
well, except
There's always gonna be
inmates
sin.
100%.
There's always gonna be sin.
There's always good people on that board.
That's right.
And
Only good people.
I'll throw this out here and Don can speak to this. Now, not everyone that's gang affiliated sleeps there at night.
I'm sorry, what? What does that mean?
You have people that's on staff that's affiliated,
Oh, I see.
purposely was sent to go put in an application.
They got a job.
Yeah, like they're affiliated. And so a lot of
So screening, I mean, screening might be a way
people,
of.
yeah,
They go home at night.
they go home and they'll call it. They like, so you're like, how is this happening? This person was sent to get a job at this facility for the sole purpose of the visit. So that's why that's what makes our job and what we do. And sometimes we could go because it's so much that it seems impossible, but it could be slowed down, it could be eradicated, but it's more than just staring at the inmates. And if you know that, then you.
But I will say this, I mean, I think you all are in a powerful position, even if it's not readily identifiable. And what I mean by that is your ability to take a 10,000-foot view of what's happening inside the prison based on the numbers and the things you're seeing month to month, perhaps sometimes might give you the ability to recognize patterns that otherwise would get unnoticed. So if you do see this facility has a significant issue with cell phones every month, if every month they have a higher percentage of confiscation of cell phones versus another facility, so they take the cell phones, but then they're right back the next month. I mean, you know, let the chairman let us know. I mean, that's the kind of stuff, and we can notify TDOC. So perhaps if they haven't done a good screening, but we know that there's an issue there, maybe they do a secondary screening, or if there's a particularly high rate of gang activity or rapes or any of that stuff. I mean, if you see these patterns based on the reviews that you're doing, please let us know, because if it's not being recognized at the lower levels, you know, we have the opportunity to see that at our level, and while we don't have direct control over fixing it, you know, we can still hopefully impact the correction of the issue by alerting TDOC to something that maybe they didn't know was going on.
Yeah.
So again, you know, that's why we talk about these trends, these patterns. What are you seeing that seems like an outlier that we can then use as a tool to maybe get some of that fixed? So
Like if you're in a facility and you see these gang members keep getting rolled up, and you look down, it's like same officer,
same officer or same inmates?
same
or-
inmates, same probably.
Yeah, please let us know.
Guys really are good at that. That's when you remember we had this discussion months ago when I believe it was OG on the Crips got escorted by two other people to the shower, and they took so much time away. And I was just like, why would someone? Because you wouldn't want that guy to get hurt. So now he doesn't have his security anymore. Now if I'm in a pod, I don't want anyone in the staff in a riot break out while I'm here. So you stare at those things. It's like now he's walking around with no security. What is that reason? It could be nothing.
It could be,
It could be-
but that's why sometimes anomalies and outliers are
Yes.
just that.
It could be nothing.
But sometimes it's the beginning of a trend.
Yeah, then you'd be like, why are people getting 24 months because this guy want to take a shower and two of his friends he hired out, just make sure I get back to my cell. You're stripping his security away. It's like, okay, but the ripple effect is now you have a riot. Now the National Guard is because this guy is someone that can't be assaulted. You have guys that's walking around that's untouchable. And guards are not, they're going to respect you. The correction officers, It's safer for them, inmates and everybody to let him be escorted to the shower.
Again, I mean, it's just, you know, if you see that, say, there's an old New York saying, when 9/11, after 9/11 happened, they plastered everywhere. It said, see something, say something, you know? So, I mean, if you're seeing something in your reviews that you think is noteworthy, please let me know. Please let the chairman know. We are going to pass that along to TDOC. And like I say, you can't always make sure they do the right thing, but we can make sure we're identifying a lot of that stuff. So, I applaud everybody for all the work that you're doing, and you know, just keep that in the back of your mind as you do these reviews. We want to be a conduit to identify some of these things that are getting missed at the ground.
And so I would say this for the record. There's a lot of great correction officers, a lot of great wardens, commissioners. I don't want nobody to chop this up where everybody's work there. It's a few bad apples everywhere you go.
Oh, yeah.
And so I just want to be clear about that. This is not a bash on correction officers that wake up every day and put their life on the line. And I just want to make sure that it doesn't look like the board just had 30 minutes of bashing TDOC.
Sure. No, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I just want to put that out there. Like we didn't.
I think that's important.
Yes, like no, we're not saying everybody's corrupt. We're just saying people are people.
Sure.
And there's a lot of great people that work in that field that are just doing the right thing. So I just want to make sure
Probably
that
the majority.
the majority of them, I would say it's not.
TDOC and CoreCivic.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, HEOC and CoreCivic.
Yeah.
So
It's a good
I don't
point.
want them to think we just took 30 minutes bashing.
No, I appreciate that.
It happens in the county jails too.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yes, it is.
We had a motion to approve this.
Yes, motion approved,
Second.
seconded. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the docket as presented by Mr. Carr into the record, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Any final thoughts, Mr. Carr, before we call?
No, that's it. And they didn't hit on all that other card on that. So I mean, it's a lot of opinions, but we'll go through it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you again for your work last month in getting that done. Okay, moving on to our next presenter with Mr. Sheeran.
Thank you, Director. So for the month of May, I reviewed 173 cases involving 242 inmates. I still have 21 cases that are pending for May, which brings my total cases pending to 41 going back to November last year. The month of May, of those cases I reviewed, 21 were designated as Class B offenses. I sent TDOC 13 requests for more information regarding the cases that I reviewed. TDOC had already taken away 1,945 months or 162 years of sentence credits on the cases that I reviewed. After careful review, I found 17 errors. I'm recommending an additional 88 months of sentence credit reduction and the reinstatement of 24 months of sentence credit.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving Mr. Sharon's docket as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Sharon. Anything?
Yeah,
you'd
just
like to add?
quickly, prolific offenders, just give you the top two from the list that I sent you in the first, Tomas ID numbers, 653, 683, 24 Class A write-ups in the last 18 months,
Yeah.
Morgan County. And then the other one is 527035, Whiteville, 20 Class A write-ups in the last 18 months. As far as trends, I know you always ask us that, and I think we've talked about it a lot already, but the most opportunities for improvement, last month, Hardeman County, more than half of the cases were either not okay, when I reviewed them, or dismissed. So over 50% that I thought were wrong or dismissed. Northeast, I think somebody else talked about that earlier. They had a couple of cases. One was dismissed. And in the notes, it said they had no contact with the CO. We know from meeting with folks at the other prisons, they don't have to contact the CO. They can go off the write-up. So I thought that was troubling. Then there was another one that had said, no record of inventory property You talked about that. I mean, it got to their property and evidence section or room or whatever, but they didn't have a record of it, so I thought that was a little concerning. South Central, there was a PDW case that was dismissed due to wrong cellmate listed in the write-up. I don't know why they won't, they talk about, I think these cases sometimes are subject to reissue, or they're gonna rewrite them up, and they hardly ever do. So this one was, like I said, a PDW that they had listed the wrong cellmate, so, okay, well then rewrite it with the right cellmate and hold that inmate accountable. West Tennessee had a case, an ASO, assault on a staff, where the inmate threw feces on a correction officer. And for some reason, they designated that as a Class B instead of a Class A, so no sentence credits removed from that one. Something else we've noticed, and I talked about it last month, we send in these requests for more information, and here it is another month and no response to some of the cases that I've asked questions about. For a little while, they were returning those to us in about 2 weeks, but I think it's been May 7th or so since I last heard. So over 2 months. And then one other thing, and then I'll be quiet. When we met at Trousdale last month before our meeting with the folks out there, I brought up 2 cases to them that I'd had pending, one since November of 2025 and another one from March. And I didn't hear back, so I ended up calling up there last week or the week before. Spoke to the D-board sergeant. She was great, was able to send me the documentation, but one was an ASO threw feces on a corrections officer again. And then in the notes, it said hearing was held in absentia because of the inmate's violent behavior. So I had it as pending since November. I asked her about that at the meeting. She sent it back. And their response was the incident was created but never submitted. So even though they put in there that the hearing was held, it was obviously never held. And then there was another case, same thing, incident created, but never submitted. So I think they're doing some things better than they were a year or so ago, but then there's some things that are still disrupting to me. So hopefully they'll continue to.
All those incidents you mentioned, were those included in the request for additional information, or do we need to?
Yes. Well, no, not that. I think, yeah, I'll give you the one from West Tennessee, the ASO that was classified as a B.
Yeah.
Might be something you want to bring to the commissioner and his staff. So it's West Tennessee 1720440 ASO, that was listed as a B instead of an A.
But the rest of them you identified.
The rest of them, yeah, we've already.
And you're exactly right. I mean, there was a period of time there where there was a lot more engagement, and for whatever reason, that slowed down significantly. I know they sent a few things. I think Ms. Wiseman was able to get some responses on some things she sent in. But for whatever reason, there's been a significant slowdown. It was something we mentioned the last time we were able to sit down with the EOC leadership. We're still trying to figure out maybe why that's the case, but we'll continue to engage and see what we can do about that. So thank you for bringing that up. Ms. Carr, did you have something? Okay, well, thank you for that, Ms. Sharon. Any other discussion on what we heard from Ms. Sharon or thoughts? Okay, well, thank you again for that. We will get those corrections put into the record. Okay, moving on to our next presenter, Mr. Lindsay.
Mine's pretty cut and dry. Small docket this month. I have to say, all the facilities on my docket were real close to the matrix. It was not too many involved. So kudos to this board and to them. So they took away 66 months. I took an additional 45 and returned 9. But they were almost spot on. They were spot on. I didn't have I didn't have any pending. The dismissals made sense. They were spot on. Please.
Just a couple of things I noticed. I mean, for whatever reason, Northwest was assigning 0 credit removals to a couple of inmates, one of whom had 5 offenses in the last 18 months, another one who had 6 offenses in the last 18 months. So thank you for catching those. I think it's really important that we're making sure we're finding those for whatever reason that are still assigning 0s for loss of credits. That's not something we've done for a while. I mean, I think all the disciplinary board sergeants should be up to date on the newest matrix. So thank you
Yes,
for
yeah,
catching those.
Yeah, thank you for grabbing that. That's two that stood out. They got 5, 6 A's and they gave them 0. So, and it was at Northwest, it was. But outside that, everyone else stayed close to the matrix.
And just, for anyone who might be watching our meetings, I mean, what that basically means is those inmates who have demonstrated a consistent proclivity for Class A violations would have been eligible for parole hearings a year and a half earlier
Yeah.
than they are now, because we're taking that time. So, thank you for doing such a close review, everyone.
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion made, seconded. Any discussion, any thoughts on Mr. Lindsay's docket? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approving the docket and moving into the record as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Okay, and our next presenter is our Vice Chairman, Mr. Dunn.
Sure. To please everyone, of all the cases that I examined, for as a trend, part of it usually like to stay on top for me is having the most cases that are not okay. It's passed through their hearing process. But of all these cases, I'd originally written down additional loss of 243 credits, but I need to make an amendment to that and correct the number. I need to take some time out of that because the first case listed for South Central, case number 172-1118, again 172-1118. That has been corrected, and Chairman Bassbinder caught it, that they adjusted it. Evidently, after I looked at it, originally they did not remove any credits at all. And then the disciplinary board went back and removed 9 credits. Well, they didn't have any prior offenses in the last 18 months. So it should actually have been only a loss of 3 credits. So of all that mixing around to say, I need to adjust that to state where I'm not taking away 3 additional credits. I'm actually returning 6 credits because they took away too much in their finding. They should only have removed 3. So for that particular case, I'd like to grant back the credits of 6 months. So my totals would be altered. Totals additional loss of credit month should be reduced to 40. And additional grants of credit months should be 6 because of that one particular case. Are we?
Ms. Turner, were you able to follow that?
Yes, I did.
Thank you. All that said, submit for approval on board.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Any discussion from anybody? Again, just, highlighting the number of cases that had bureaus originally assigned at Hardeman, one out of Northwest, a couple, even with the change, a couple from Central, one from Trousdale. So, really just thank you so much for catching
Sure.
those. I think
Thank
it's
you,
very
Chairman.
important.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Chairman.
Chairman, for looking over them. I think it's, doing that double take on these recommendations, make sure that they're exactly right. And then out of Whiteville, I noticed that there's one inmate who had 17 offenses in the last 18 months. And I think it's, completely appropriate to increase, that recommended removal of credits from the original discipline board decision all the way up to 24.
Need to stay longer and think about it.
Yeah, that's extreme. So thank you, Mr. Dunn, for doing all that work. Any other comments for the docket? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approving the docket with the one change outlined by Mr. Dunn, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Any notes, any comments before we move on?
Nothing good, previously stated. That's pretty much there.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you
sir.
so much. Okay, we have one final docket to get through. Our presenter is unavoidably absent today, but I think she has asked one of our other board members to go present her docket for her. So that's Mrs. Carbos's docket, but it will be presented by Mr. Sharon.
Sure. Thank you, Edie Small. So Yes, Dr. Carpos couldn't be here and asked me to recommend her docket for her to do two things. Number one, recommend her docket, which I will do for her April cases. But then also, if you all remember, last month, there were 4 cases that she had presented to us that were outside of the matrix, but she wanted to leave those outside of the matrix. I know I recommended that she reach out to those D board sergeants and maybe ask them why they were outside the matrix before we voted.
But they were outside the matrix more than what the
Right.
guidelines recommended, right?
Correct.
They weren't outside under, they were
No,
outside over.
over. Yeah, they were over. Sorry. Yeah, they were outside the matrix. And instead of giving time back, she was going to leave those alone. I think some of us had questions about that. I recommend that you reach out to the D board sergeants to find out if there's a compelling reason why they did that. If there was something else that we didn't see. And then if she didn't have time, I offered to do it for her. She reached out to me a week or so ago and asked me to do that, and I was more than happy to. And as of Monday, I was able to get in touch with all those D board sergeants about those specific cases. We went through them each almost together, and they all agreed that they were just errors either by them or their staff in entering them in Thomas, and they had no issue with us returning those back to being in compliance with the matrix. And so I sent those 4 cases to you, Mr. Stahl, and to Tammy. And I'll go through those numbers really quickly if you want. But the first one was at Northwest 1701434. And the original D board decision was an 18, and it should have been 15. And I'll send these to you guys in an email. So it's my recommendation that we convert those back to that 18, return 3 months to making it a 15. The second one is also at Northwest 1711376. The D board had given them an 8 and sanctioned them 18 months. It should have been 12, so we returned 6. The next one is Trousdale 1713518. D board originally gave a 15, and the matrix had it in a 12, so we returned 3. And then the last one is at Whiteville 1713614. D board gave 15, and the maximum should have been 12, so we returned 3 on that as well. And I'll send you that email that she sent me to you guys. That's what I would recommend to the board. So moved.
Okay, seconded. Any discussion on either the docket as presented or the old cases from last month that Mr. Sheeran and Ms. Carpos are recommending add time back? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of making those recommendations final, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion passes. We will make sure that those changes from last month get made and that the recommendations from this month get submitted. Ms. Turner, did you get those 4?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great.
And if you have issues, sorry.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, well, that concludes the docket portion of the meeting. We'll move into the public comment period. I don't see anyone in the room. I don't see anyone online. So we will move past that item number into our closing notes. The only closing note, I have 2 closing notes. The first is a very happy birthday to our Vice Chairman, Mr. Dunn, on another trip around the sun. I'd like to confirm our August public meeting date if possible. Right now, it is scheduled for, take a look at the calendar, the 19th of August.
Okay.
Can anyone say today if that doesn't work for them? They'd like to, they know that they have to move that. I know the start of school is beginning in August. So hopefully by the 3rd week, that is an okay date for everybody. But if not, we can talk about that now.
9 o'clock?
9 o'clock?
Works good. Sounds good to me.
Okay. Okay, great. So we will put on the calendar, the 19th for the public meeting to begin at 9 a.m., which will put our agenda setting meeting the week before on the 12th. So, please don't make any plans for those 2 days. If we need to change it, we can. Just let me know as soon as you can if that needs to be changed. But looks like we will keep those dates as the dates for right now. And that is it. Those are all the closing notes that I have. I will return it to our chairman for final comment and or adjournment of the meeting.
Is there any further business that we need to present today?
I just want to say thank you to all the ones that heard from finance division, and appreciate all of you.
Congratulations to your son too.
Yes.
Yes, MP, newest to best.
Yeah.
Do not speed on his base.
Jack Reacher.
Actually, we should be able to speak on his base. We're the only ones.
That's corruption.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. None debate, can't debate.